I'm convinced now more than ever that New World is going to get an expansion in 2023. Not just that, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is because I truly believe it. If you want to support the channel and you want to help me grow it, then becoming a YouTube member is truly the best way to do so. Now, there's actually a few reasons why I believe an expansion is coming next year, but one of the triggers for this is obviously the roadmap. This roadmap right here. Now, reaction to this have been sort of underwhelming. People are not overly thrilled with it, and I think there's a couple of reasons for that, which I am going to talk about. But for me, the main omission here, the main thing that sort of draws my attention is the fact that it is only 2 seasons. There is no autumn or winter or anything like that. It's literally just spring and summer. Compare this to the roadmap we had last time. Well, look, what's on the end of that? Oh, we have autumn. Oh, that's nice to see. Why then is there no autumn on this roadmap? For me, the obvious conclusion is that there's going to be an expansion at the end of 2023. Now, before I give you more reasons why I think there might be an expansion, let's talk about why this is actually appearing to be a bit underwhelming. One obvious thing for me is the lack of PvP content. Yes, we are going to get the faction influence rework kind of thing, but that's not made it onto the roadmap, and I do think that is actually going to come out in spring because they mentioned March in one of the previous dev updates. But even with that, it's still a little bit like, was the PvP content made? And then let's have a look at which of these are actual sort of like content, like new additions to the map, or a new area like the dungeon. So we're getting an Empyrean expedition. That sounds great. The Springtime Bloom event, yeah, that's sort of new content, I guess. Generally, they're not like super action-filled, massive content updates, but you know, let's include it here. The Sandworm Elite Trial will be the first like one boss raid, and I'm very excited for that. That's new content. That's it. Everything else I would argue is sort of like system based, and yes, it isn't something they can just magically provide. They do need to be worked on, but it's not like the art team is necessarily going to be working on them too much. Weirdly, the transmog may fit into art, but what I mean by that is the people who 3D model and that kind of stuff, they're not really working on anything beyond what we've just listed, the new expedition and the Sandworm Elite Trial, of which you can probably see images of. The rest is sort of like UI based effectively, or systems based. Gear set storage, whilst that will be amazing to have, it's effectively UI. The main story quest, actually I should have put that in the content one. My problem with that is that it's content that a lot of people don't really care about because you're not necessarily going to go back and replay it. So actually that should have been in the content, but I'm dismissing it because I think most people in my situation will dismiss it. It's really good for new players and it definitely should happen. So I am happy it's in a weird category though, let's say that. Transmog is a UI thing basically. All the skins are already done. We just need to have the mechanism for basically using the skin system that they already have. We just need a way of collecting those, which it sounds like we're going to get collectibles, but effectively it's UI, right? Raid groups is also UI. Cross-World Outpost Rush is basically server infrastructure. And the Summer Medley Fur, obviously it'll be tweaked a little bit, but it's something that already exists. A bit weird to put it on, so I'm guessing they're planning some major tweaks. A little bit questionable there though, obviously. What I'm saying overall is that the like 3D modeling and that kind of like content, there's not much of it here. And I think that's an indication that those teams are working on something else, and I think that something else is an expansion. And my little bet is that if we do not get an announcement on or before the Summer Games Fest in 2023, then I'm going to donate £100 to charity. Now, I'm not Mr. Beast. I can't like give away thousands. I'm just not rich enough. £100 will seriously impact my wallet, right? But I'm just very confident that it's going to happen. Now, it might not actually be then. It might be Gamescom. It may be that the expansion actually isn't planned for the end of 2023. Maybe it's planned for early 2024. I don't know. But I'm just going to put it out there that I think an expansion is being lined up, and I think we've been given the sign that it's coming. Now, I don't have the evidence of this because it's been very hard for me to find, but I have been looking. I think he might have said it in a dev interview with Asmongold, but I think Scott Lane actually said that they wanted to have a sales model very similar to something like Guild Wars 2, and that they would be going the expansion route. Pretty sure I saw an Asmongold interview like that, but I can't find it, okay? It might not have been Scott, it might have been Dave, I don't really know. And I think I saw it written down in some written interviews as well, but again, I can't find this. If I ever search like New World expansion, I just get Brimstone Sands, so I'm not really being successful with that. If you can find that, do let me know. So they pretty much said expansions would be coming. Now, I do think that they mentioned in one of the early dev updates that all of the patches would be free, and people have taken that to mean that there would never be an expansion, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. However, I could be wrong. Maybe the expansion will be a free expansion. I just don't believe that, because how is New World making their money right now? Skins, and the skins aren't that amazing, so I can't imagine they're selling absolutely like massively. Yes, there's emotes as well, but you know, skins. So if you accept, and I admit that I can't prove it, that they said that there would be an expansion, when do you think that expansion would come? The earliest surely would be 2 years after launch at the end of 2023, and the latest would probably be 2024. You're not going to go 4 years without having an expansion. I think that would be crazy. I think personally that they want to follow effectively something like World of Warcraft when it launched. They want to do an expansion 2 years after launch. I think they've already been working on it, and I think this shows that they're taking some of their teams and putting more effort on the expansion. When you look at the rate of development that they were going through when they added new zones and stuff like that at the tail end of the development of the game, they added like Ebonscale Reach and Reekwater and stuff like that. I don't believe that we're seeing that same team developing everything for the live version of the game. I'm pretty sure that some percentage of that development team have been shifted to an expansion. And I may have, when that expansion comes out, wrong, but I'm still pretty confident about it. Now, I think one of the announcements might be very, very soon. It may be in just a few days on December 8th with the Game Awards. Now, that might be a little bit too soon. When you think about Dragonflight, for example, World of Warcraft, Blizzard, they announced that in April 2022 and it released in November 2022. Announcing an expansion in December 2022 that might only come out in November or October 2023 might be a little bit too early, so maybe it's not going to be next week. However, I am going to live stream that on the YouTube channel, so if you want to catch that and you want to follow along, then do subscribe to the channel. It's at 9:30 UK time. I'm not sure what time that is for the rest of you guys. And if it's not here, then it might be Summer Games Fest. Now, why am I saying it might be these two things? Amazon Game Studios have a decent relationship with Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley, if you don't know, runs both the Game Awards and Summer Games Fest. And this was actually at Gamescom, so he also was involved in that. But they have a strong relationship. They did a trailer, for example, of New World at the Game Awards one year. They've been doing little interviews in all of the events that Jeff ran. Like, for me, it seems to be that they are deliberately going through Jeff and his events to marketing push New World. I think that trend, there's no reason to believe that it won't continue. So the Game Awards just happens to be the next event it could happen, and then I think it's Summer Games Fest. Then I think it would actually be Gamescom, but, you know, I'm pushing my luck. I don't want to be saying, you know, this announcement could come at any time and I'm going to take credit for it. So we have a roadmap that I think doesn't have that much content on it, and it's deliberately missing autumn. I think that's a sign that a expansion might be coming. The fact that they've told us that an expansion is probably the way that they're going to sell this game. I think 2 years is sort of a reasonable amount, especially when you've just got the game out the door. The fact that that's how they make their money. There's no subscription fees, there's no pay to win. They make money if they sell an expansion, so you want to go it while the going is hot, and you're going to get more sales if you do that 2 years rather than if you do it 3 or 4 or 5 years. So I think 2 years is a good window. It could be 3, and I admit that it may actually be not 2023, maybe 2024, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be next year. Now, you might be all like, Jay, you're just high on that high dosage of copium. You know, the roadmap wasn't that great, therefore you're like, give me that cope, give me an expansion. But I just, like, what can I tell you? It's actually what I really believe. Now, I know there'll be some of you out there who be like, I don't really want to pay for an expansion. I'm happy with the game that it is. And I can completely understand that you might not want to pay for the expansion. However, I think that ship is going to have sailed. I don't think there's any way we can get around it. They're pretty much going to do an expansion. For me, it's a case of when, not if. What we know for a fact is that we're not going to get anything like a new zone for the next 6-7 months. So is it really that unrealistic that what they're going to do is do a couple of new zones and put them behind a paywall? I think that's reasonable, and I think it's actually good value. And I consider that I paid like $40 or whatever for New World. The fact that they may ask me in a year's time, which will be 2 years after launch, to pay for another like $40, completely fine. I'm on board with that. That's a decent sales model in my eyes. So I know it's a little bit of a catch-22. You might be like, the roadmap was not great, therefore you're saying there's an expansion and you're just on hopium and copium. That might be true, but I think legitimately that they need to put those resources elsewhere, and that's why the roadmap appears to be a little bit thin on the ground. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But I've put my money where my mouth is. I'm putting an actual bet on the line. You can quote it, clip it, whatever you need to do. I will donate if we do not have an announcement on or before Game Fest in 2023. If you want to support me, I'll be sticking with New World through the thick and thin. So if you want to support that and you want to help me grow the channel, becoming a New World member, becoming a YouTube member is the best way to do so. You should definitely, though, have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.